Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Justin M. Bailey here, and hi. Welcome back to Outpost 31. I hope everybody's doing okay in your outposts of sorts of isolation. Isolation definitely being one of the top 5 key words of the year 2020. Now, already on this show, we've talked a lot about fear, paranoia, isolation, and the threat of infectious takeover, because not only are these the themes of the thing, tragically, these have also become the themes of our life. And on one hand, thank God that I live in the great state of New York. It seems like, as grim as the situation still is, it seems, knock on wood, that the worst of it is over and we have a handle on things. I would say a lot thanks to Governor Cuomo, where it's just this thing, I guess you want to talk in militaristic terms, the enemy is not defeated, but we've successfully found a way how to deal with it. So it'll be very fascinating to see what comes from here, but I am really, really happy to be in the great state of New York under Governor Cuomo with everything going on. So yeah, I feel really, really good about that. But that says we are still in a pandemic, and that is something, just the idea of that would be utterly abstract to us 5 or 6 years ago. Same as how it would be utterly abstract to us 5 or 6 years ago, some insane reality TV show host with the emotional equivalent of a 7-year-old running our country. So, yeah, dear God, I think that might make my head hurt more than the pandemic. But so going along with all this, though, as unimaginable and horrific as it is to live through a pandemic, once again, I still don't feel like I'm used to saying that word and living through, while simultaneously living through it. But that is the entire premise of Stephen King's The Stand. But the difference is, in that book, that pandemic, one good reason to read it is that one wiped out 99.99% of the population, leaving the rest to fall into these 2 camps and end up in this Old Testament biblical fire and brimstone, life and death confrontation. It's Stephen King's novel The Stand is epic, to say the least, and I've been in the habit anyways of, around this time every year for the past 3 years, I've been listening to the audio novel. I'm always listening, it seems maybe once a year now, to Stephen King's It, which is my most favorite book of all time, and The Stand. And I have a lot of mixed feelings about The Stand. First of all, it's the book where I point to it. That's my favorite book of all time. I think by far that is Stephen King's most powerful work. The other camps seem to say, a lot of people feel, The Stand is, if you somehow divided people into camps, which is, let's not, because then they annihilate the other ones in the camps. I think we should have using that metaphor, we should have less camps of people, don't you think? Maybe just one camp. But yeah, a lot of people say The Stand, and then there's a lot of people also say the Dark Tower series. I think the Dark Tower series is awful. I hate it. I really, really, really hate it, even though I'm thankful for it because it was so bad. It inspired me to write, because I was like, this was because once again, everybody was saying, from the greatest storyteller I know, this was supposed to be his best work, and it sucked balls. So for me, yeah, that got me to pick up a writing pen. So thank you, Dark Tower, for that. But no, in no way do I feel the Dark Tower is his best, and no, I don't feel The Stand is his best either, for a bunch of reasons. First of all, it is maybe paradoxical is the best word, but technically I don't even fully like The Stand, which does raise the question, well, why is this the 3rd year I'm going to listen to the audiobook? Well, because The Stand is hands down Stephen King's most ambitious and well-written piece of work. Let's just say of just size and complexity, and not just complexity for complexity's sake. If you were going to measure on that, oh yeah, The Stand is just it's an epic beast. It is remarkable. But you see, the problems with it I have is, number one, it's a ridiculously stupid ending. It's just ridiculously stupid. Number two, it's got some decent characters, but I don't think in any way you can say any of the characters, there's lots of characters in the book. and I'm going to pin that. I'm going to talk about why in that for a sec. But from basically all these people from all sorts of walks of life, from all over America, huge variety of characters, and once again, it's an incredibly ambitious story. But the problem is, the more I read it, the less I like all the main characters. Do you ever have like shows as a kid where you just hate all the good guys so badly you almost hope the bad guys win? That's how they all feel. They all pretty lame, and I'll definitely talk about all of them. So there you go. Pretty bad ending. It's just I don't know. It just reminds me kind of a Django Unchained, where that was an amazing movie until it's almost like Quentin Tarantino wrote himself in a hole and he didn't know how to end it. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just Tarantino my way out of this. And if you've seen that movie, I think you know the exact part that happens. And then after that, it was a great movie. It feels like a stupid, excessively violent exploitation film, Bugs Bunny cartoon or something, you know? So you just feel it. We're almost just like Steve King, like, I don't know how to end this thing, you know? And actually, he famously had an incredibly long writer's block where he really didn't know how to end that thing at all, where he almost abandoned the entire novel. But since it was such a big novel and he'd already put so much time on it, he tried to think it out. And finally, I think the biggest problem of The Stand, I don't think this gets talked about a lot. Like I said, he has so many characters. It is such a huge, epic fantasy quest, just like Lord of the Rings, but it takes place in America after a pandemic. A super flu has wiped out everybody. So anyways, he even says so on this interview. Maybe I'll leave links below to get to it, where he says, I wanted to make this huge, epic Lord of the Rings fantasy in America, mission accomplished. And he wanted it to be all old school biblical and all of that, all that, basically a return to Old Testament good and evil, angels and devils and all that. And that's all well and good. And you could definitely say he accomplished that. But the big problem with The Stand is, Stephen King believes in lots of crazy and awesome, powerful shit. He's never believed in the Bible. He's never believed in Old Testament, New Testament, any of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't really buy into much of that either. So it's like, but since he doesn't, it's like, it is so powerful because Stephen King believes in it, so you believe in it. You can believe that there can be this otherworldly entity that can take a million forms and clowns as well and feed off children. The Dark Tower, I can't stand the Dark Tower, but you can believe that all of these multiple universes are connected to this nexus point, this Dark Tower. You can believe it. He doesn't believe in that stuff. So it seems kind of strange where, that since he's just kind of it doesn't have that impact on him, so you just don't feel that impact of the novel. Do you get me? Like, maybe if he really was a holy roller, then maybe The Stand could have been really frightening as hell. But still, since it's still written by Stephen King, it's definitely something worth getting into. And first of all, this shows the power of Stephen King as a writer and the powerful of this work from him. Because basically, I'm telling you, I don't like most of this novel, and yet for the third time, I'm going to listen to it and give my 2 cents on certain things along the way. So, and once again, I think this is a good novel and a good time to check it out, because just like watching The Thing, maybe it's a good reminder things could always be worse, right? So I'm Justin M. Bailey, and together on this channel, let's talk about The Thing sometimes. I got the green screen back up. I've got a pinball video coming up. From now on with the channel, I think I've got a good idea where I'll make what I'll call high-tech videos and low-tech videos. I think after all these years, I think I'm trying to find a good balance. And no matter what, I just like doing this shit, and I just like being around this shit. So all the more reason to keep going. So Stephen King's The Stand, one of the many things we will start covering on this channel. And I can almost guarantee now, even with another kid coming, I think I find a pretty good way to just keep stuff rolling, So I hope I can count on your support. Vote for me. I'm Justin M. Bailey. Thank you. Bye.